frontier is defined as uncharted territory by land or ocean. Those who chart that territory tell a story. The past illustrates the blueprint for the present, how things are and how they've evolved. From land to water, we are challenged to border that new frontier, a frontier the outdoorsman knows like no other. Author Gary Lewis works his way along that edge of where discoveries, failures, and achievements have written the story of the sportsman.
Yes! Yes!
From state to state, continent to continent, the stories told create the foundation of the present, and they lay the framework for the future. Through the muzzle fire and on the stone are stories from the edge.
Water is the most important thing as far as Indians are concerned, 'cause that's life.
The past is written, the present is here, and this is Frontier Unlimited. Gary Lewis made his way up to the Olympic Peninsula in Grays Harbor County to fish with his dad and friend Ben Winkleman, the mayor of Hoquiam.
If you're trying to time a trip to catch fall coho, you want to look at that early October time frame. And before that is the early run of the fall Chinook that come into these rivers. And if you look ahead into late October and early November, you not only have fall Chinook and coho in the river, you also have chum salmon coming into some of these streams as well. A lot of snaggy opportunity.
My name is Tom Moonen. I'm the owner and guide of Action Northwest Guide Service here in Grays Harbor. I grew up in Pennsylvania, fished my whole life. Joined the Army. The Army moved me here in February of 2001. And that's where I spent my entire enlistment until 2004.
Okay, so we're using barbless hooks here, so we gotta remember to keep the tension on the hook.
I want to be, smooth with everything, not herky-jerky, because what happens is that hook starts to wear a hole the more you're moving it around, and then it has more chance of just letting loose.
These are Chinook eggs or Silver's eggs?
These are all Chinook eggs right here. Actually, last year's cure, which I prefer to use.
Yeah,
I prefer to use
a tighter bait that stays on the hook longer.
I like to let them sit in the freezer for a season.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm fishing fish that are pressured, I try to start off subtle. Now, if we're on pressured fish and I've not seen anybody catch anything, that's when I'll go for a hot egg. And you're looking for that reaction bite where it comes in their face and you're creating that flight or flight scenario in them where they feel like they're being threatened by that scent and they want to grab it.
This was the last week of September, and a huge rainstorm had just rolled through. Ahead, they could expect most of 2 days of sunshine before the next storm, off the Pacific.
Fish! Did I wait long enough to set it?
Awesome job, Gary. Whenever you're ready, just pump down one more time and lift.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome job.
Good job. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm stunned.
Anglers from around the state, indeed from around the Northwest, had convened on this midweek morning to float the river or prospect from the banks.
Okay, Tom, what makes this little outfit tick, what we were fishing with today?
These fish hang in a lot of water where you can't get a good drift fishing current. A lot of times our current is slower and we need something that we can get down there that's going to move with the river, but that we can get down towards the lower bottom of the water column, that bottom third. And so the way to do it is we use a technique called float fishing, and it's simply nothing more than a bobber stop right here that is adjustable for wherever we are fishing, and a float that slides up to that bobber stop down to an inline weight down to your leader, down to a hook. And so if we're fishing a 7-foot deep hole, I'll set this at 5 feet. Tell my guys, go for it and fish.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing to float fishing is mending. And once you can teach folks how to mend and keep that float positioned correctly in the water and let that river take it naturally, that's the biggest key to float fishing. And once you can dial that in and maintain that line between your rod and your float, it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple.
I'd like a 16-ounce mocha, please. We've been on the river all day and we need to get a little pick-me-up.
Go, dog, go.
Let's see. And then there's a coconut.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's me. Do you have any chocolate donuts right now?
We do not right now.
Where would we go to get chocolate donuts?
Lewis and crew are on the Olympic Peninsula, fishing for king and coho salmon. In an area rich with history, they took some time to relive that history in Grays Harbor County.
The Olympic Stadium, boy, what a gem. It was a project as part of the WPA. It was built in 1938, which was under the New Deal, Franklin Roosevelt's program. And in the summer of 1938, there was a whole team of people that came together, over 400 people working on that building to build what is today the largest all-wood stadium left in the United States, to my knowledge, and certainly west of the Mississippi. It's been on the National Register since 2006 at the national level of significance because of its WPA connection, and it was built entirely using lumber that the Polson Logging Company, again, the namesake of our museum, had supplied for that effort. I'm from Hoquiam. I grew up here. My folks moved here in the late 70s, and I went to all through school in Hoquiam. But having skipped town, University of Chicago, I have a degree in history. I'd wanted to seek a job in the museum profession and was fortunate enough to move back to Grays Harbor. Our history here, timber, logging, lumbering history is an essential part of understanding how this place came to develop. To not know the logging history is to completely not know how a town like this gets created in the first place.
When you grow up in a logging camp, what's that like?
I grew up in Camp Grisdale. It's up in the Olympic Mountains on the peninsula of Washington State. It was an amazing experience. The sense of community that you get there is something that I've always strived to find and hope that I could find for my kids.
And so you've created a sense of community in the place that you actually didn't really want to move to, Hoquiam, and now you're
I'm in the mayor now.
You're the mayor now.
Yeah. It's a real pleasure now for me to be able to walk down the street in what used to seem to me to just be a huge city, and I'm sure that that's where I'll probably live until my final days, and I hope that my kids will decide that it's worthy of coming back to, and I hope that they want to spend a lot of time with me when I get old.
We floated down at 0 dark 30. We weren't the only ones who were planning ahead that way. There was a couple of boats ahead of us and you could see the glow from their headlamps going down that tunnel of the river. But we got to the spot we wanted. It was the spot where I'd caught my salmon yesterday. That is our bait. It's Procure salmon eggs, last year's cure with this year's sand shrimp. And I'm gonna go put it to work right now.
You can learn how to mend with it being right here close to you. It's not as fast. So lift all the way to that float whenever you go to mend. There you go. Now follow that float with your rod tip. Just keep your rod tip pointed right at that float.
Got bit.
Middle on the way back in.
Really? You got bit? On the way back in.
That was a soft take. I think maybe I fell asleep while I was standing up there for a second, and that fish decided to wait for the next cast.
That's his story and he's sticking to it.
Yeah.
We decided we better try to get in there and use divers with bait and see if we could force one of those fish into grabbing that thing as we backed him down, and that's exactly what happened. Nice. Yep.
Lay that rod down.
I don't think it was in the water, but maybe 2 or 3 minutes, right?
It wasn't that.
It wasn't even that long, maybe.
Yeah, and my bait was closer to the slot there, but all these fish that I've been seeing have been working out more toward the middle so far this morning, and then your rod just goes.
Yeah, it took off and was looking for wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get it wrapped up in some logs, so
Yeah.
it's kind of fun when it gets underneath the boat and starts spinning the boat around.
We're gonna drift down and we're gonna go try to spook up some coho out of some little woody spots on the way down and find another batch of salmon.
There was no question there were fresh fish. No one second guessing the timing. A guide evaluates his or her clients. In most cases, the client and guide do not know each other and they have to learn to work together. In the bait box, Noonan had at least 4 different colors of eggs, presumably with 4 different cures. Noonan was thinking 2 river bends ahead, evaluating in his mind where the downriver guys had gone already. Where there might be an open slot, full of grabby kings.
We headed downstream to a nice bend hole where we were able to find a nice group of fish.
You got another bobber down, Ben? Prepared that time?
Nope. Had my pull up in there real nice though.
You're not waiting for a bite when that bobber goes down. You're just waiting for that bobber to go down.
We all have those days on the water when we see temperatures get short. Maybe it's the phase of the moon that does it. But what they saw on the Olympic Peninsula in September was fishermen from around the West gathered to take part in the bounty of the ocean return of each flush of the tide.
Is that a fish? Huh? I think so, yeah. It was as exciting as a fish, even if it was a snag. I got just enough, no, I think that was a wiggle.
They saw river etiquette at its best, with guys who had just met that day offering each first water or first cast on unpressured fish.
There you go, Ben. Nice.
Ben Winkleman, mayor of Hoquiam, set the hook on a solid king, directed by
If he wants
Noonan.
to take line, let him take it. You're gonna pump up, reel down. Pump up, reel down. Nice and easy though. All nice and smooth. We're barbless, so you want to be nice and smooth. There you go. Nice and easy. It's not a race. You got all the time. We kind of capitalized on a bobber down here. The key to barbless is just trying to remain nice and smooth when we're fighting that fish. Steady pressure. Let him fight that rod. You don't fight him as far as trying to keep gaining on him when that rod's already loaded up. And so get back out there and try it again.
I wanted Gary to have a chance.
You didn't hand it off to me.
Yeah, well, maybe next time.
I wouldn't have taken it. the one. I think Ben's got the rhythm of this hole.
Bend up. There you go. Set, set, set. Reel, reel, reel. Come back here. Come back here.
I don't know what's going on, but I know he's getting bit a lot. That's just what happens with barbless hooks, though.
Getting us bit. Huh?
Just stay here.
Are you sure? Hey.
We don't have the chocolate donuts, but
Ben, you didn't do anything wrong there, so
Maybe my hook sets are a little slow, so they're off.
no,
Too.
not at all.
No?
you feel like you're getting a solid hook set when I say set it?
Yeah.
We're just living for that hook set. That's all we
I
are.
get a good rush out every
Oh,
one
yeah,
of them.
yeah.
Even that stick that got a hold of me one time. I still got a good rush out of it.
You're just trying to keep up with the recipe out there, because
On a river in Grays Harbor County, Gary Lewis and friend Ben Winkleman, mayor of Hoquiam, target kings among the trees.
I'm gonna go crush it, Gary.
I'm gonna go crush it. I'm gonna go crush it. I'm gonna go crush it.
Are you saying it right? Is that just slow, or I don't know. That thing bobs a little bit. I'm not
Went
calling it
under,
a
but I
bob.
think you were dragging bottom right there.
Okay.
And maybe I was too.
Winkleman's casts were on target, and the bait and scent seemed to be on target too. Winkleman hooked and lost several before bringing a nice fin-clipped king to the net.
Man, Winkleman.
Lay that rod towards that boat right there. You don't have to keep reeling. See how you're reeling still against the drag? Okay. That just twists the line. Okay. So pump, reel down. Pump up, reel down. Pump up, reel down.
Oh man.
Reel down and lift. Okay, we'll get him again. I want you to lift with that rod. Lift, reel down. Lift, reel down. A couple more times. Lift. Hatchery, guys.
Awesome.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, it's a beauty.
Woo! You finally did it.
Hey, you're teaching me.
Third time's a charm, right? Right in the beak is stuck in Ben.
Having a great day on the Olympic Peninsula, right?
There's days as a guide that it's very trying, and then there's days that are very rewarding. And when I can still get an adrenaline rush from the guys that I'm fishing, and you take them and you teach them in the morning, and by the end of the day, you know, they're making it happen, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Like you've accomplished the goal. So Ben is done. He's got his limit. This has been the hot rod here today. I hand it to Gary here since he hasn't had the opportunities that Ben has had.
Oh man.
They saw river etiquette at its best, with guys who had just met that day offering each first water or first cast on unpressured fish.
Oh yeah. stuck with our belief that you don't leave fish to find other fish. And that paid off for us with hookup after hookup for Ben, and then finally a nice chrome bright Chinook, and finish out the day for him.
They saw wild kings and coho turned back and hatchery fish taken home. And above all, they drifted through the dark forest where moss hangs heavy in the trees, and black bear pad softly out of the timber, where eagles feast on salmon on the gravel bars. You can almost hear the trees growing.
May I offer you guys some donuts?
Well, are they chocolate donuts?
Yeah,
Well,
they're less than a month old.
I think we better have some chocolate donuts. Chocolate donuts. There's more than a dozen different rivers you could fish on the Olympic Peninsula in easy driving distance of Hoquiam and Aberdeen, or one of the other good spots in Grays Harbor County. In a lifetime of fishing, you could never see it all, but what you can do is get out and have some fun on one of these rivers like we did, and drift through the forest, see what's going on. You get a glimpse of the past and a glimpse of the future, and maybe you'll tangle with a big salmon fresh from the ocean.